Hello, my name is Thomas Mestis with the M Real Estate Group. I am the qualifying broker and owner and founder of the M Real Estate Group. And today, I have the special honor of having one of our associate brokers with us today, George Mastin.George. Welcome.
Thomas, thank you for having me.
Glad to have you, brother.
Thank you for having me.
So today what we wanted to do is find out a little bit about George because, you know, everybody sees the George that's out there that does the real estate, but you know what? I want them to know the George that I know, the George that I love, the George that inspires me to do better every single day, the George that challenges me with questions, and that's what I want to find out today. So let's find out about that George today. Sound good?
Sounds great.
All right. Well, with that said, you know, tell me about George. Where did George start? Where's George from?
I was born in Lubbock, Texas.
Lubbock, Texas.
Lubbock, Texas. Our family moved to New Mexico when I was 2.
Okay.
Grew up here, went to high school here, college, left in 2000 for San Diego and Portland, Oregon, came back 2012.
All right.
I missed tamales,
Yeah.
pozole.
Yeah.
I missed the food.
Oh, for sure.
So
It's crazy. You leave for like 2 days, and you're doing a restaurant. Like I'll be in Austin next week, and I'm going over there, and I know Austin has amazing food, but I know that I'm like, where's the red chili? Where's the green chili?
absolutely, it's same but different. Even the cheese, even the cheese. They try and market stuff, and it's not the same.
Yeah. So you went to high school here. Where'd you go to high school?
Freedom High is where I graduated from.
Nice. What year?
95.
95. You're so young. Looking good, man.
Thanks, man.
I just actually came off of my 30-year high school reunion. Valley High School! Vikings, let's go! So that just happened this last weekend. That was a little weird. I don't know. But
Not at all.
But it was very cool to go see all the people. 30 years, man. It just goes by like that. So you definitely have to take advantage of every opportunity, every situation. And I think that's the biggest thing is most people think they have the time. And I believe it was said that most people underestimate or overestimate what they can accomplish in a year and underestimate what they can accomplish in a decade. And that holds true for 10, 20, 30 years, obviously. So
I agree with that. It's life is not a spectator sport, and that kind of hit me, ironically, last night after just an interesting interaction with somebody last night. Life is definitely not a spectator sport.
No, you got to participate. You got to be a participant. You need to show up in life if you want it to be spectacular. And not saying that you can't sit around and enjoy some time off, but I think some of the time that I've actually been most inspired and felt fulfilled is when I'm chasing after a dream or a goal.
Absolutely.
When I'm working my guts off, when I don't know if it's going to be something that I can accomplish, and I'm just going after it. And that has been the time that I feel most alive doing that. So, and I know you've been getting up pretty early in the morning and getting after it, huh?
4:30.
4:30. It's crazy.
Today, I know it's been over 6 weeks, 8 weeks, something like that.
Yeah.
But
And you've been challenging yourself every single day to get started, getting to the gym,
going to
doing all
the
that.
gym.
I'm sure you feel 100% pumped every single day, like, yes, I woke up early, let's get to the gym. Or is that not necessarily how that goes?
Not necessarily how it goes. The other day, I had to cuss myself out in the mirror to get myself to the gym.
Yeah.
But as soon as I get on my bike to the gym, and as soon as I get on the bike, I get a big smile, usually singing whatever out loud, whatever I'm listening to in my AirPods.
Yeah. Now, we did have a conversation about the internal dialogue, the story that we tell ourselves. Now, you have a pretty interesting mantra that you tell yourself when you're going to the gym. Tell me about that. What is that?
It's really while I'm riding my bike, and it's something I've always said when I was riding my bike, and I say I'm a bullet, I'm a missile, I'm a rocket to the moon.
Yeah.
Because I try and sprint on my bike.
Full out, all the way.
Full out.
Awesome. Do you have something that you tell yourself when you get to the gym? When you're lifting the weights, when you're doing something, when you're pushing yourself to that extreme?
I usually hear Dorian Yates in my head.
Who's Dorian Yates? Tell our
He's
viewers.
a Mr. Olympia.
Yeah.
I think he
Bodybuilder.
came from the bodybuilder.
Okay.
I think he came from the same place Arnold did.
Okay.
He revolutionized, well, I don't know if revolutionized is the correct word, but the 1 rep set.
Yeah.
He's maxing out when he works out, cut his time down in the gym to 45 minutes. I think he's a 4 or 5-time Mr. Olympia.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. That's awesome. But
So I
you can learn-
usually hear him
You
yelling
do?
at me.
telling you just one more.
Yeah.
Nice. There's a book by Ed Milet. It's The Power of One More. And it's so important. And if you start living your life with that power of one more, and so many times people think about one more in the world of working out or doing these things, but one more I love you with your family, one more hug with your children. Just practice that part, like where you just take it next step. Like sometimes my kids will come to bed, or they'll come and say goodnight, and when they were little, I would take them to bed every night, right?
Sure.
And so they come say goodnight and they go, and of course I'm exhausted at the end of the day. And I just think in my head, I'm like, you know what? Before they move out, I need to go up there one more time and say goodnight. So I get up, I get out of my lazy feeling at that moment. I get up and I go and I give them a kiss goodnight, and I tell them, and I go and spend a little bit more time with them. Just that one little extra. And I think if you practice that in your life with everything that you do, I think you'll have a much more fulfilling life. At least you'll know that you went that extra mile or that extra step.
Absolutely.
So, and that's super important, especially in working out.
Absolutely.
So tell me, now you've been in the business for how long?
4 years. This is my 4th year.
4th year. Now, you kind of had a little bit of a rocky, tumultuous beginning in the business within the first 6 months of you joining into real estate, right? What happened?
COVID.
Crazy, right? The world shut
Yeah.
down. So you got licensed when?
December 28th of 2019 is when I got my
You
license.
did, yeah. That's crazy.
And then COVID, March
yeah.
is when
The world shut down.
It did.
I remember we had our last in-person meeting, and then it was done, and then the rest of the time was on Zoom.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
No open houses. The showings were restricted. It was
It was an interesting time.
Absolutely.
But I think what comes from that is when things are challenging, is that's the market you knew. That's the market that you basically grew up in, right? Because if it was easy, everything was perfect and the world was great, and then all of a sudden that happened, that took a lot of people's wind out of their sails. COVID. Everybody was living this world where it was easy and things were happening, and all of a sudden it got really hard. And I think people had to self-reflect, and they had to look inside themselves and then figure out, what do we do next?
Absolutely.
And you were fortunate to actually become a new broker at that time. So that's all you knew.
I had to relearn a lot of things once the restrictions came off and we were allowed to show homes, do open houses again.
Just the whole fact. Remember, we're going into you're like, oh,
Yeah, I had 3 closings before the shutdown, and then kind of took, like you said, took some wind out of my sails.
Yeah.
And had to quickly readjust.
Well, that's good that you were able to, and obviously you're here today, and you've adjusted very well. Right?
Thank you.
And that's why we're here to find out a little bit more about George today. But it was a challenging time, and I've heard a saying once. It's like, don't wish it were easier, wish you were better. And you can apply that to any part of your life, but think about that for a second. Don't wish it were easier, wish you were better. COVID, whether anything happened, it made you a better broker if you focused and went into it and said, hey, how can we be creative? So one of the great things that came out of it, and I guess the jury's out on this, but Zoom has revolutionized
Absolutely.
time and meetings. Just before I got here today, and I was running a little bit late, I do apologize to the studio, I was on a Zoom call with planners for a development that we're working on. Well, prior to COVID, that would have been, hey, let's meet, we do this. Now I'm really late, instead of only being 15 minutes late to this today, I would have been an hour late. Hey, we need to postpone this or whatever has to happen. But, in the vehicle, I'm able to be on Zoom with it muted, and of course no camera on, not participating, just listening while I'm driving. I was still able to be part of that meeting. Oh, wink, wink. No, I was. I actually was. I try to be really good when I'm on Zoom if I'm multitasking.
Sure.
But so tell me what brought you to the M Real Estate Group.
Ironically, right before I started real estate school, I reached out to a fellow broker who I grew up with.
Yeah.
And I knew she had kind of jumped around in the beginning of her real estate career. And I asked her about the current brokerage she was with, and nothing but great things to say.
That's awesome.
And I had already interviewed a few other brokerages. I know they think they were interviewing me, but I was interviewing them.
Sure, absolutely.
And then when I met with you after her recommendation, I immediately knew this is going to be a great place.
No, awesome, man. Well, we definitely love having you. You make it fun. And one of the great things I heard the other day is Stephanie in our front office, Alexandria and Stephanie were talking, and they had mentioned you coming in and how fun you are and the energy that you have and just being such a great, nice, just a pleasure to be around. It's just, it was pretty interesting. And I was like, wait, we're talking about George here?
They're talking about me.
But that's absolutely true. And it's so funny is so many times we think the worst of ourselves when other people are thinking something else, right? And sometimes we are the worst critics. So I want you guys out there, don't be your worst critic. Think highly of yourself. Not to the point where you are a narcissist, right? Where you're like, oh, I'm the greatest in the world. But think highly of yourself. Think good thoughts, because you have to think good of yourself for the world to think good of you too, right?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So, well, very cool. So what's one of the things that you enjoy most about real estate so far?
It's never the same thing.
Every day. Every day is different.
Absolutely. I'm literally thrown a curve every day.
Yeah.
Every day and I'm literally calling you
That's
after
good.
I get off the phone or get the email like, you got 5 minutes?
I love that, man, because you know what? When you bring those challenges to me, I feel challenges, problems, all those things is part of the growth process. I have very huge goals for myself in our company. And every time there's a problem or an issue that comes up, I'm like, bring it on, right? The more successful I get, the more problems I'm going to have, and I understand that. So I don't look at it like a negative. I actually look at it as a positive, which is very weird to do. It's very counterintuitive. But every time I have a problem, I'm like, yes, I'm getting closer to my goal. I'm getting closer to my goal. So when I get a phone call from you challenging me, that makes me better, because now if I don't have the answer, I'm going to go find the answer, or we're going to find it together, or we're going to figure it out together. And figuring out problems and solving those problems makes you just a better person, makes you a better broker, makes you a better father, makes you a better mother, whatever it is. Everything makes you better if you look at it the right way.
Absolutely.
It's all about attitude.
And I think there's only been one time that you haven't been able to supply the answer right away.
Well, good. Well, that's good. Thank you.
Yeah.
So tell me.
But you did eventually get it.
Well, I think we do it together, and that's one of the great things that I enjoy so much about our team and our brokerage is the camaraderie that we have.
Absolutely.
That everyone works together. A lot of times you see brokerages that are out there that everyone's kind of like competing against each other, and competition's good, but I think friendly competition's good. But I think when you are withholding information because you don't want somebody else to have the edge, I think that's when it's bad. And one of the things that I appreciate most about you and all our brokers is the willingness to share that information and the knowledge to help everyone, right? The rising tide lifts all ships, and I think that's super important to understand.
Absolutely.
So, very cool. What is one of the biggest challenges you've ever overcome in real estate so far?
COVID.
COVID, all right.
I'd say COVID dictated to come into that. That was probably my biggest challenge.
Yeah. Okay. What's one of your biggest personal challenges in your personal life? What was one of the biggest challenges that you faced recently?
Oh my goodness.
Well, I'm just gonna talk super highly of you and kind of and compliment you. So George was running last year. He was preparing for a big goal, Duke City Marathon, and preparing.
Yeah, it didn't happen.
But that's okay. Because you know what that taught you, what you learned, and what you did, what you accomplished on the journey, was absolutely amazing. Now, sadly, I know that you did hurt yourself, that it wasn't able to continue on. So you found other ways to do workouts and do all those things. But through that process, I was just amazed. I was amazed not only at your work ethic, but your drive. There was literally days that you and I would be talking, and I was like, "You go for a run today?" "Yeah, I'm gonna go for a 20-mile run." And these were monumental goals. Like first it was like 5 miles, and then it got crazy. Then it got to 10, and then it got to a point where it was just insane amount of mileage. And for most people, it's hard to comprehend or wrap your head around it. But when you were in the zone of what you were trying and going after in your accomplishment, the thing that you were trying to accomplish, although it was a lot, it wasn't so monumental or so massive that you couldn't say, "I can never see myself doing it." Like you were you were so close.
Yeah.
So close. And if it wasn't for an injury, that goal would have been yours.
Absolutely.
Yeah, 100%. And so I think that drive, and this is what I want to let everybody know, is the drive, the passion, the determination that George Mastin has. And I know sometimes it's hard to get these compliments. I mean, I see the facial expressions here. But for people to know the George that I know is absolutely phenomenal, to get to know this person that has the drive, the passion, the willingness to do whatever it takes in order to get the job done and accomplish it. And you see it in yourself in your personal life, right?
Absolutely.
Now, you may not see it always. Like I said before, sometimes we are our worst critic and we beat ourselves up all the time. But from an outsider looking into your life, I have seen some amazing things that you've done and accomplished. And I see you for what your potential can be. I don't see you necessarily for who you are at that moment, but I see the person, the sparkle in your eye, the person that you can become. And ultimately, once you see that person that you can become, you start working on the journey of becoming that person.
Thanks.
So I appreciate you, man.
No, thank you.
And you're doing awesome
appreciate
things
that.
for sure. So definitely
Thank you.
want to tell you that. What's one of the biggest lessons you've learned working in real estate?
Don't get comfortable.
Don't get comfortable.
Don't
Explain.
get comfortable. You do a good. You talk about it quite a bit after. And I did this habit at the beginning of the year is celebrating and getting comfortable after a really big close and not continually moving forward.
Sure.
And when I had momentum, I should have kept going. But unfortunately, I kicked the shoes off, cracked the beer.
Just relax a little bit. Enjoyed the fruits of your labor for that point.
When I should have just been looking forward and keep the tree growing
Sure.
instead of just picking the one fruit off, letting the tree wither. I should have continually watered it, adding fertilizer.
Well, what's one of the unique things that I've heard is, and what I've heard is don't let your success cause you to fail, right? And it's counterintuitive, but it's very, like, hear me out a little bit, is so many of us, and I say of us being humans, is when we've reached a certain amount of success, we think it's okay to just let it coast for a little bit.
Yeah.
And the big problem in business is when you've had a success to a certain degree, that success can be the cause of your biggest failure, because now you feel that you've arrived and you stop doing the things that it took to get to where you had that success. And in order to move past that is you have to be consistent. And I said that early in the segment where I said most people overestimate what they can accomplish in a year, and they underestimate what they can accomplish in 10. Most of us are very goal-oriented, and we're goal-oriented on a short-term outcome. Like in real estate specifically, most brokers are focused on 30, 60, 90 days. They're not looking 2 years down the road, 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road of what they would like to accomplish. They're looking like, I have a closing in 30 days, and I want to help these people get into their home in 30 days. Or I want to help them get into their home in the next 60 days because their lease is expiring, or whatever. So we're living a very short life, a very short vision. And what we need to do is we need to expand that vision, and we need to say, okay, like this is the process. Instead of just helping today, I'm going to help one family in the next 90 days. I'm now going to look at the course, and I'm going to say, if I can help 24 families become homeowners in the business, and I can help them to achieve their goals of financial independence or security or all these other ancillary things, emotions and things that come from the sale of a home, what could I do if I said, I quantify that over the next 10 years? I'm going to focus on helping 240 families over the next 10 years to change their lives, to change their kids' lives, to change their family, the trajectory of their family, all the things that the benefits that come from home ownership. And I'm going to be super focused on that versus the short term. If every broker came into the business with a long vision and a long goal, how different would the business be, would you say?
Probably very different.
Extremely different, right?
Absolutely.
Think about this, though, because some people make decisions on the short term,
Right.
good or bad. And a lot of people make bad decisions because they're looking at the short-term goal. But if you look at it the long term, like we've been now in business, this is our 21st year. We're going to be 21 years in the business. And the goal was, let's make sure that we improve the lives of people. Make sure that we never tarnish our reputation, that we are only hiring the highest and best quality brokers into our company, that we're only offering the best services available, that our marketing is top-notch, that everything is top-notch, and we're focused on this. Now we're looking out 5, 10, 15, 20 years, the dynasty of what that is. And for you as a broker coming in now, in retrospect and saying, hey, I was focused on the short, I should have been focused on the long game, the infinite game.
Absolutely.
Right? So that's a great lesson, though, and I think that anyone that's listening to this today needs to take that to heart and say, hey, I know this is what I have to accomplish in the next 30 days, but let's take this out 10 years, and let's just see what that is going to look like, and let's just take time to ponder and think about it, of what we need to accomplish over the next 10 years and not in the short term. Because there's going to be ups and downs, right? Like
Absolutely.
COVID was one of them.
Yeah.
I've been in this business for a long time. We had a great market, and then 2008 came, and it's like it plummeted, and the whole world, just like with COVID, went to like hell in a handbasket, right? And I think that's important for people today, is long-term goals. Okay. What are 3 reasons why you enjoy working at the M Real Estate Group? We're going to stick to our cue cards because that's what I do. I stick to cue cards here.
You literally said everything. The help and support I receive whenever anything comes up, you are literally always there on the phone. I think one night I've called you as early as 6 in the morning and as late as 10 at night, and you've answered. And yeah, the support and just everything about the place. I'll hear other people talk about the brokerages they're at, and in my head, I'm just like, wow, we don't have that at the M Real Estate Group. Just these little things that annoy them about it, and I'm always like, we don't have that. We just don't have that.
That's awesome, man.
So,
well, that's good. Well, I'm glad that we're there, and that was my commitment. I always say that if you commit to me, I'm going to commit to you. I'm proud to say that I've been with my wife for 27 years, and I always make a joke when I say that. I was like, 27 years ago, that's a long time. And I said, yeah, it feels like 15 minutes. And she always like looks at me with the look on her face. Oh no, here it comes. And I'm like, yeah, have you ever spent 15 minutes underwater? But the reality is the commitment to you, the commitment to our team. I don't take that lightly. Every day I try to give it my best, my all, everything I possibly can. There's days, just like anybody else, I'm human. I don't necessarily feel like it, but those are the days that you go at it anyway. And
absolutely,
because there's going to be a time that you're gonna come and you're gonna need something, and I need to be there for you, or vice versa, because you've been there for me multiple times. So I do appreciate that too. So, what inspires George?
Lately, it's when I'm riding my bike to the gym. And right around 6 a.m., maybe 6:03, watching the sun rise above the Sandia Mountains.
Oh wow!
That's to be able to be awake that early and to see that every morning has really been inspiring me.
That's awesome, man. Good for you. That's great. For many of our listeners, 6 a.m. is 2 to 3 hours before they are even planning on waking up, right?
I've already been up, had breakfast, walked the dog.
Isn't it amazing what you can accomplish?
That's why I started doing it. I realized when I might be a little grumpy when I'm forced to wake up, but if I'm allowed to wake up on my own, I can get up right out of bed and start my day.
Sure. That's awesome, man. That's super cool. Alive or dead, famous or not, and I'm following the cue cards here. Alive or dead, famous or not, what person in history would you consider to be one of your role models and why?
Marcus Aurelius.
Marcus Aurelius.
We're still reading his diary.
Yeah?
Over 2,000 years after he wrote it.
Yeah.
We still read his diary.
Yeah, tell me something that inspires you about him.
His ability to adapt and overcome. And I think there's a misconception about Stoicism that people think you're turning off your emotions and turning off your feelings, but you're really not. You're learning, and this has been a big learning curve for me, to not let your emotions or feelings control you.
Okay.
And rise above them. So when you get angry, you need to realize it's not the other person making you angry, it's yourself.
Sure.
That's getting angry, and to not let that, you have to learn how to control your emotions and why you're feeling a certain way about something and reflect on it.
Sure. That's amazing.
I wish I could quote some of him and Seneca. They were all followers of Stoicism. And yeah, it's been a blessing to read his writings.
That's awesome, man. So very cool. Very cool. All right. We're going to go through these cue cards here. We're going to stick to and Yasmin's going to be very happy that I followed through. Tell me about one of the most interesting places you've visited.
I would say Alaska, Chugiak, Alaska.
Really? Tell me why.
Just the mountains. It very overwhelming how wooded it is.
Sure.
It's a small town right outside of Anchorage, very secluded. I saw moose out the kitchen window. It was just amazing.
Those are massive animals.
They're huge.
I remember driving from Yellowstone. We were going to California. We were crossing somewhere, I think through Utah, somewhere in there. I think it was in Utah. And there was a moose in a river. And the river was a very large river, so I knew the river was very deep. And you could see the top of the moose. And it was walking, and you could just see these giant antlers. I was like, holy cow, that thing is massive. So, very cool.
Big animals.
Very cool. So Anchorage, or just outside of Anchorage, Alaska. My father actually was at Fort Richardson, based in Fort Richardson in the 50s.
Okay.
So he was there when here's a little trivia. When did Alaska become a state?
Wasn't it 48?
It was in the
49?
50s. It was in the 50s. I don't know the exact date, but so my trivia sucks.
That's okay.
Yeah, but it was in the 50s. So, I the old 8mm film.
Sure.
That they have in their archives. My father, thank God, I'm able to still have them. He's 87 years old, but the little 8mm video, it's in color.
That's awesome.
I think it's color. I'm pretty sure it's color. It was color, and just of when they became a state and the celebration that happened, it was pretty cool.
Nice.
Yeah. So, what are some of your hobbies other than working out and riding your bike?
Work. That's really it. I'm kind of boring. Cooking.
Well, I'm not going to necessarily that. You've trained an animal that most people don't think is trained to be able to go on a walk. Yeah,
the cat. She goes on walks with me and my dog.
So George has been a dog person the entire time I've known George.
Absolutely.
Dog. That's it. Dog. And all of a sudden, I learned that George is a softie here, and he's got this cute little kitten that he started with, and now the cat is ruling the roost.
Pretty much, yeah. And I'm fostering 2 males, and even with those, she's definitely letting them know that that's her house.
So one of the funniest things that I remember the first time I met you is George has the most amazing handshake. In fact, it is the firmest, strongest handshake I've ever, I think, experienced in my entire life. And to go from that to you being a cat dad is pretty funny. So I like that a lot. So for all of you out there, George is, he has a rough exterior, but he is the sweetest, kindest man that you will run into for sure.
Thank you.
So tell me some of the goals that you have for yourself this year.
So you made a comment maybe 2 months ago. I don't know if it's been that long. So what I noticed about myself is when I start talking out loud and telling people my goals, I never accomplish them for whatever, I don't know why.
Okay.
And I decided that instead of broadcasting my goals and what I'm doing, I'm just going to silently work and succeed.
Okay.
So I'm letting my actions speak for my goals.
Okay.
And I know that doesn't answer your question.
That's
And
fine.
I know
That's fine.
that's
But
like
they're
a
they're personal to you, right?
right.
So they have to be personal to you, and that's okay. So everyone's different how they work, and that's amazing that you've recognized that about yourself. Is like you can't just say your goal and then you're like, I'm going to fail at this so I'm going to work at it, and I'm going to work at it in silence and secretive to the world, and you're going to show rather than tell, and that's
Absolutely.
amazing too. So that's cool. Good. Way to go, man. Have you accomplished any of them yet?
I have.
Can you share those ones?
I don't know if they're appropriate
want to?
for.
All right. Well, I'm glad to know you're accomplishing your goals. That's awesome.
So okay, I'll at least share this one. I'm a voracious reader, but haven't been reading as much as I'd like to, and I have been reading at least 20 pages a day, and normally I read multiple books at a time, but I'm sticking to one book. Read that, finish it, and jump to another book.
Nice. That's a good goal. That's an amazing goal. I'm definitely an Audible guy because I'm in the vehicle a lot and I'm running or I'm doing this. So for me to sit down, the minute I sit down, I'm literally fall asleep within seconds of like stopping. Because so reading has been very much hard for me to actually sit down and read for that reason. But Audible books have been amazing. So
I try that, and I that puts me to sleep.
okay, cool. Yeah.
Especially when Morgan Freeman reads.
Sure. How has your goals motivated you to keep going?
No one's going to do them but me.
Yeah.
And that one, I know it sounds silly that you have to learn that and realize that.
That's part of self-awareness, though. Like once you become self-aware of how you work and how you do things, like it's really the universe opens up and and you're unstoppable because you start believing, have this amazing sense that you can accomplish anything that you put your mind to. And for all of those people that are listening to this today, you got to write your goals down. You got to get focused, but more importantly than any of that stuff, you got to get started.
Absolutely.
There is so many people in this world that talk about everything that they're going to go do. Start. Just start. Start, and you know what? And tomorrow when you feel like, or if you feel like quitting today, don't quit today. Quit tomorrow. And tomorrow when you decide you want to quit again tomorrow, don't quit tomorrow. Quit the next day. And just keep moving forward. I think that's the most important thing, is you got to keep moving forward. Because if you're not growing, you're dying.
Absolutely.
And I've heard that, and it's so funny because you're like, oh, I'm not dying, I'm not growing, I'm just sitting here. No, you are withering away and your body is dying. You've got to be in movement. You have to be growing. You have to be growing your mind, your mental capacity, your physical capacity as much as possible. So, super cool. All right. How do we find you?
So I'm George Mastin. I'm with the M Real Estate Group.
Woo!
And I'm here to help you achieve any of your real estate goals, whether it be your first home, your third home, your vacation home, or an investment home, or you need to sell your home to get into one of those new homes. I'm here to help you.
Okay. And can people find you? Are you on social?
Social media on Facebook.
Facebook. Awesome. Well, cool, George. Thank you so much. I hope our viewers have learned a little bit more about you today. I know I have. So I definitely appreciate you, and I find it an honor to work with you on a daily basis.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks for
No, and
spending
absolutely
some time with
the
us,
same. I'm trying not to cry. This.
All right, George. Thank you so much, brother.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Thank
you, man.
Thank you.
All right, guys. That's going to do it for today. But if you want to reach out to George, you can not only find him on our website at www.themrealestategroup.com, but you can also find him on our social media platforms. We have an amazing social media team, so they are doing their best to get George's information and content out there. So, George, thank you so much for spending time with us again today.
Thank you.
All right, guys.
Thank you for having me.
When you're looking for real estate services, you got to find the M Real Estate Group. George Mastin. Thank you.